Right, welcome. This is fascinating stuff. Truly fascinating stuff. We've all wondered what's going to happen off the back end of this coronavirus situation with the film industry predominantly. But we were looking at it from the perspective of how they're going to finance their films, what kind of narrative they're going to take. Really, that sort of way, because they're losing billions. I don't think anyone considered that this would be part of it. Texas Senator Ted Cruz has announced a bill to halt US funding for Hollywood studios that bow to China. I mean, that's it's industry shaking. This is fascinating stuff. Now, I'll leave a link to this article down below in the description box, but really, this is genuinely insane. I don't think anyone anticipated that this would be a thing. Truly amazing. And we've known for years that a lot of movies are censored, they are rewrote, there's even endings specifically made for China. In fact, Disney's Avengers is one of them. So even your favourite franchises, you know, if they are your favourite franchises, have been changed and coerced and altered just for China. And it makes sense that the Hollywood studios would want to do that because it's a big market, but there's also the moral implication of that, right? You know, it is a communist-run country. There's some moral and ethics behind whether you should really bow to a corrupt and communist state. But let's check it out. So the Texas Senator Ted Cruz has introduced a bill called the Script Act, which would cut off consulting and cooperation between the Department of Defense and Hollywood film studios who co-produce their films and censor them on behalf of the communist Chinese government. I'm all for this. I am actually all for this. I don't see why art should be specifically periodically altered and changed. Not for a market. Like, it's fine if it's subtle, but they are massive movies just altered and changed straight from the get-go. And it's not just that, you know, like the amount of censorship that goes on in China. I mean, it's a meme. It's an actual meme at this point in time. Winnie the Pooh, Xi Jinping. I mean, it's just he and the whole party, the whole country is just a meme at this point in time. And I don't think anyone, maybe they don't realise that they're just the laughing stock of the world. But they are. We all think you're stupid. And it's funny because they all think that the world is stupid and that, you know, there's not going to be any repercussions or we're not going to have any negative thoughts about them and that they can inject their weird propaganda. Like, there's even reports that they have, it's factual, that they've coerced the EU, the European Union, into changing a report on, you know, how the virus originated. And it's how do you think you have this kind of power? I mean, they do, because people keep bowing to them, but it needs to stop. At a certain point, it needs to stop. And this is a good way of doing it. I firmly believe that this is a good way of doing it. Now, the bill's goal is to limit or prohibit the use of the Department of Defense resources used to help movie studios with many aspects of their films, which we see. I mean, Michael Bay films are constantly that, to be fair. Now, this is obviously with respect to consulting with military personnel for accuracy and things like that, and obviously the use of vehicles, even actual military personnel. Now, the bill's summary reads, to prohibit the use of Department of Defense funds for the production of films by United States companies that alter content for screening in the People's Republic of China and other purposes. Now, it'll be interesting to see how they get around this, because inevitably they will try if this passes. But the wording there states, you know, just the United States companies. So maybe there's a lot of Chinese majority-owned companies now that operate out of the United States, in Hollywood specifically. So maybe that's the way around it. I don't know. Don't know the legalities of all of that, but it's interesting nonetheless. The bill specifically details that the Secretary of Defense may not provide technical support or access to any asset controlled by the department if the film is co-produced by an entity located in the People's Republic of China that is subject to conditions on content imposed by an official of the government of the People's Republic of China or the Chinese Communist Party. I think this is really laying down the law. I mean, it's quite literally America versus China now. And this will shape and change Hollywood moving forwards, inevitably. And interestingly enough, Cruise has described the bill as a wake-up call for Hollywood, where they will need to choose between assistance from the American government and funding from the Communist government of China. Yeah, sure, why not? You know, I don't disagree with it. I don't see any issue with that at all. There needs to be a stranglehold on China somewhere along the line. And if you can do it like this, then yeah, fine. Cruz has explained the bill by saying, from buying media outlets to broadcast propaganda into America to coercing Hollywood studios and sports leagues to self-censor by threatening to cut off access to one of the biggest markets for sports and entertainment in the world. The Chinese Communist Party spends billions and billions of dollars to mislead Americans about China and shape what our citizens see, hear and think. And that's worldwide. It's not just the States, that is genuinely worldwide. Like I said, the EU has currently been subject to that. And they bowed to it as well, which is really pathetic. I know Australia is currently up in arms. They've been threatened as well. There's even points of, with respect to Italy, there was an Italian-Chinese official that made some comment about how they handled COVID. And it's the gall that this place has. It's just fascinating. It's utterly fascinating. And what amazes me is that, you know, we allow these things to continue because of money. And I get it, like it's a business, but there's so many morally and ethically charged situations that go on in China. Like they're essentially committing a genocide of a certain sector of Muslims in their own country. They are openly racist. They say no blacks, don't have blacks here, don't have blacks there. I mean, it's insane. And we support it. Why? Like, I'm against racism, contrary to popular belief. That it's abhorrent behaviour. Absolutely baffling. So again, I repeat, this being something which can, you know, noose and strangle their hold of the world off, I'm all for it. I genuinely am. It's been going for too long, is the point, I think. Now, he continued that all of these activities are part of China's whole-of-state approach to amass more influence around the world through information warfare, and we need to put a stop to it. And a lot of people will just say that this is tinfoil hat territory. It's really not. And if you say that, why are you defending a communist party? The stuff that they do to their citizens is just disgraceful. No one should be defending them. It's appalling. It's appalling. Now, he added, for too long, Hollywood has been complicit in China's censorship and propaganda in the name of bigger profits. True. The Script Act will serve as a wake-up call by forcing Hollywood studios to choose between the assistance they need from the American government and the dollars they want from China. I definitely think there's a balance that can be struck. I don't see what it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think that you can firmly have a balance here. I think that, you know, by kind of segregating themselves away from China, whilst also getting the assistance from the American government, you could hopefully maybe influence China to sort themselves out. I don't know. That's the kind of balance that I'm talking about. I don't think you should bow to China by any stretch of the imagination. If they don't want the movies, fuck them, quite frankly. Now, I don't know anything about Ted Cruz. I don't know if he's well liked in the States or not. I know a lot of people will probably, if he's hated, they will just say, well, sod the bill because we don't like him and he's probably alt-right, which is normally the go-ahead for these kind of idiots. But it is fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. Now, the article continues and says, Hollywood studios have a history of censoring films for international markets. I mean, the most recent one was the hilarious China censorship South Park episode. I mean, goddamn. You know, way to basically just a self-fulfilling prophecy there, China. Well done. Laughing stock. And basically, you know, it's a high history of this. Hollywood studios have a history of censoring films for international markets, and the reason being that the Chinese market is one of the largest movie-going markets in the world, and given it has one of the largest markets, there's a great deal of money to be made there. It is, but I don't know how much money they actually make from the ticket sales, because I don't think it's as big as anywhere else. So that does fascinate me. But anyway, one of the biggest film franchises that is censored for China, like I said at the start, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In fact, Doctor Strange writer Robert Cargill intimated that the film cast Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One due to China. Interesting. Now, the thing about the Ancient One is it is Marvel's Kobayashi Maru. There is no other character in Marvel history that is such a cultural landmine that is absolutely unwinnable. I've been reading a bunch of people talking about it, and really frustrating thing about it this week is most of the people who have thought on it haven't thought it all the way through, and they go, why didn't they just do this? And it's like, I could tell you why. I could tell you why every single decision that involves the Ancient One is a bad one, and just like the Kobayashi Maru, it all comes down on which way you're willing to lose. There you go. And he continues and said that it's basically the Ancient One was a racist stereotype who comes from a region of the world that is in a very weird political place. He originates from Tibet. So if you acknowledge that Tibet is a place and that there's Tibetan, you risk alienating 1 billion people who think that that is bullshit. But again, this goes down to the coronavirus situation with respect to Taiwan, right? They've influenced the World Health Organization, and this is not tinfoil hat territory, it's a fact. They put their foot down to the WHO and said, no, you will not allow Taiwan in to the World Health Organization because we don't see it as a country. We can claim it back by force if we so wish, right? That's what they said. One, that should be alarm bells. You should never go, right on, yeah, no worries, we'll bow to you then. But secondly, should have listened to them anyway, because they have a high... Because of all the crap that keeps coming out of China, they have such a great track record of dealing with pandemics. But no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And this is the same thing, you know. They were dealing with... Why we bow to one of the most racist countries in the world is just beyond me. Utterly beyond me. But anyway, there you go. There's not much else here to say about this. I just think that this will be fascinating to watch it kind of unfold and see where it goes. What do you think? Are you in favour of this? Are you against it? I'd love to hear where you lie, and I can't wait to see all the little Chinese trolls and bots that pop up in the comment section. Please do share this video. Please do give it a like. Thank you so much for watching. And also, guys, just before I go, this video was sponsored by my original short film. I'd love it if you could help it out. We talk about, you know, Hollywood and remakes and reboots and creative bankruptcy and bowing to censorship and all of this good stuff. I am making my own intellectual property. It is a horror fantasy film, and I'm crowdfunding it. It's down below in the description box. Check it out and support original IPs. Thank you so much. Take care.